Part 1. The Road of No Return. Sky had no color left. It was as if someone had erased the blue, the gold, the red of dawn, left behind only a sickly gray, thick, sticky, almost alive. Aiden walked beneath that dead sky like someone moving through the inside of a starving beast. Every step echoed in a wasteland that once had been farmland, village, home. Now nothing was home. Nothing was farmland. Everything was rubble, smoke, and a silence too heavy to be silence at all, more like the air itself still holding the memory of old screams. He didn't know exactly when the war began. No one did. Some said it started with a border, others blamed a ruler, and some swore war had always existed, that it simply changed names, flags, and faces. But Aiden carried a different suspicion. Maybe the war had begun long before the first human walked the earth. Maybe it had been waiting, patient, hidden, until the human heart became vulnerable enough to welcome it like a seed. And now he was here, walking through the skeletons of houses, through the remains of lives that would never be reclaimed. The ground was a mosaic of ash and dried blood. Abandoned boots, shattered toys, scarves tied to poles that no longer had electricity. Even the crows seemed to have learned how to speak, such was their familiarity with the corpses left open beneath the wind. Aiden pulled his hood lower to shield himself from the cutting dust. He felt weak not from hunger, but from something deeper, a spiritual erosion, as though his soul was being eaten from the inside by invisible embers. He had seen too much, lost too much, and above all, heard too much whispers, cries, commands, explosions. But also the kind of sound no human should hear, the choked scream of a child gripping a rifle for the first time. The image stabbed his mind like a blade. The boy, far too small for the weight he carried, wide eyes too dry to produce tears. He held the rifle like someone holding a destiny he hadn't chosen. Aiden never learned his name. Maybe the boy had one, maybe not. To Aiden, he was the face of an entire generation warped by the madness of adult children taught to shoot before they ever learned to write. Aiden tried to teach him how to run, tried to convince him there was another path. But the boy had been shaped by the brutal urgency of those who commanded him. "If I don't do it, they'll do it to me," he whispered. And in that whisper, Aiden understood the size of the abyss the world had fallen into. War devoured the youngest first. It was always them. In the distance, Aiden saw a column of black smoke rising. It meant only two things. Either survivors were in desperate need of help, or looters were at work. He quickened his pace, but cautiously. He'd approached groups before, groups that looked human, but weren't anymore. War had a cruel way of tearing humanity out of people slowly at first, then all at once. When he reached the clearing, he realized it used to be a lively village. Now it was nothing but twisted wreckage. Even so, he sensed movement among the ruins. Aiden heard faint groans. He knelt beside a bloodied woman, half buried under a scorched beam. "Hey," he murmured, reaching for her hand. "I'm getting you out." Her eyes were wide not with fear, but with a kind of absolute exhaustion, like her soul had been torn into thin strips. "They," she gasped, blood leaking from her lips, "came with flags I've never seen. Said it was for the good of the nation, for the good of the future." Aiden didn't ask who they were, it didn't matter. All said the same thing. Missionaries of their own, wars delusional, marching like saviors while carrying the destruction they claimed to be fighting. He managed to lift the beam with effort, but when he pulled her free, something was wrong. The woman no longer breathed. Her eyes were fixed on the colorless sky. Aiden closed her eyelids with trembling fingers. Another life he reached too late. He spent hours searching through debris, gathering what little food remained, looking for anyone still alive, if safe place was even a thing that existed anymore. In the end, he found 3 body-ass teenagers wearing different uniforms. None had survived. None were older than 15. War had no sides, only victims. When the sun began to set, if the dull orange smear in the sky could still be called a sun, Aiden set up a small camp among the remains of the village. He found a somewhat sheltered corner and lit a small fire. The warmth stung his eyes not from smoke, but from the memories it brought. He remembered nights like this, sitting around fires with his companions early in the war, when they still believed they could make a difference. When they believed they could save someone. He remembered each of them. Their dreams, their reasons, their hopes. And he remembered how they vanished, one by one, taken by explosions, gunfire, disease, madness. Aiden carried their ghosts like parasites clinging to his mind, gnawing at what was left of his sanity. As he watched the flames crackle, the sounds of the broken world seemed to creep closer, far-off bombs. The metallic whistle of machines slicing through the night sky, distant cries fading into the dark. The world no longer slept, it only waited. Aiden raised his gaze toward the horizon. A dead line of land, split by smoke. And there suddenly he did something he hadn't done in years. He screamed. He screamed at the sky, at the men, at the dead, at the living, at anything that might hear him. WHY, his voice broke. How long? How long are we going to tear each other apart? How long will this madness devour children? How long will blood be the language we speak? His cry ricocheted across the wasteland. No answer, no echo, nothing. It was as if the world itself was too tired to reply. Exhausted, Aiden collapsed to his knees. Everything he'd seen, everything he'd lost, everything he'd failed, crashed down on him at once. In that moment, right at the edge of despair, something happened. Not a sound, not a voice from the sky, not an angel, spirit, or entity, but a feeling. A subtle shift, barely noticeable, rising from within him. As if his consciousness had been brushed by something newly awakened, something ancient. Something that had always been there, but had been buried under pain for too long. It was as if the silence itself had spoken. And that inner voice, strange and deep, whispered a sentence he never expected. The war is bigger than you, but its ending begins with someone. Aiden opened his eyes, breath unsteady, scanning the ruins around him. The world looked exactly the same. Nothing had changed, but he had. He closed his fist tightly. And there, standing among ruins, in a shattered world, in a silence that carried ancient wisdom, he made the only promise he had left. If the world was marching toward destruction, he would march the other way. End of part 1. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and receive more videos like this. Part 2, The Children of Fire. The dawn of that day carried the metallic taste of fear. There were no birds singing, no signs of life, only the distant crackling of ruins collapsing under their own weight. Aiden put out the fire and followed the shattered road. The landscape looked as if it had been shaped by a furious blind giant. Open craters, trees burned down to the spine, lampposts twisted like broken bones. He walked with a heavy heart, not only because of what he had seen, but because of what he sensed. Something in the air had changed. The silence seemed thicker, as if it were hiding from something larger. A bad omen crawled across Aiden's skin like a cold wind, and he was right. As he crossed a narrow valley, he saw a plume of smoke on the horizon different from the others he knew. It wasn't the usual smoke from bombings or burning houses. It was dense, dark, almost solid, a marker of territory, sign that someone or something was near. Aiden crouched low, moving carefully among the rocks and debris. He heard footsteps. Many, and at the same time, none. The marching was organized, rhythmic, almost ritualistic. When he raised his head above the rocky ridge, he saw a group moving down the road, and he froze. They weren't regular soldiers. They were teenagers, maybe 15, 16 years old, marching with mechanical discipline. They all wore the same worn-out uniform, the same war paint on their faces. Their eyes held no light, no fear, nothing, just a deep emptiness, as if they looked beyond the world, the children of fire. Aiden had heard of them. Kids taken from their families, trained from childhood to obey without hesitation. Their commanders stripped them of their names to erase any trace of humanity. They were used as disposable weapons, sent on missions no adult would dare to accept. And now, they were walking straight toward him. Aiden didn't move. Every muscle burned with tension. The group passed less than 30 feet from him, but none of them turned their heads. They marched like living shadows, as if the world were nothing but a narrow hallway leading them to a single purpose. When they finally disappeared into the distance, Aiden let out his breath slowly. He started to rise until a whisper behind him froze his spine. "Don't move." The voice was young, low, barely a thread of sound. Aiden turned slowly. A boy of about 13 was pointing a revolver at his head. But the weapon wasn't what caught Aiden's attention. It was the boy's eyes. They were different from the others. Not dead, not empty, terrified. I can't let you go, the boy stammered, trembling. Aiden lifted his hands slowly. What's your name? He asked, keeping his voice as calm as possible. The boy swallowed hard. I don't have a name. Aiden felt something tighten in his chest. Another erased. Another childhood stolen. You do, Aiden said softly. Everyone does. The boy's breath shook, as if he were fighting something inside his own mind. They said names make you weak, he whispered, that remembering who I was would kill me. Aiden took a small step light, careful. Do you believe that? The boy hesitated, and in that moment of hesitation, the world seemed to stop. He lowered the gun slightly, looked down, then back at Aiden. I don't know what to believe anymore. There was no time to continue. A sharp whistle cut through the valley, metallic, threatening. Aiden knew instantly. The commanders were calling them back. If they found the boy separated from the group, he would be punished. Punished in ways Aiden didn't dare imagine. Go, Aiden whispered, or they'll find you. The boy bit his lip, the weight of the decision crushing him. Should run too. I'm trying, Aiden said with a sad smile. Before Aiden could say anything else, the boy ran off, disappearing among the rocks, like a frightened shadow. Aiden felt a deep ache in his chest, a mix of rage, sorrow, and something strange. Hope. That boy still had life in him, still had a soul. Maybe he could save at least one. He walked for hours toward the Black Mountains, a dangerous territory filled with insurgent groups, but also rumored to hide a place known as the Silent Caves, where some survivors were said to be hiding. Maybe he would find help there, or maybe he would find his end. By nightfall, the wind changed. It became colder, sharper. Aiden knew it meant only one thing. Something was coming down from the mountains. And it came. A thunderous blast echoed through the slopes. Then another. The ground trembled under his feet. Aiden dropped low as the darkness was torn apart by orange flashes. Explosions. Many. Not far away. Too close. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. Screams mixed with the roar of detonations. And then he saw it. A whole village hidden at the base of the mountain was under attack. Families ran. Children cried. Makeshift shelters caught fire. The shadows of soldiers moved across the settlement like a storm of metal. Aiden didn't think. He just ran. He arrived just in time to see a man thrown to the ground, his face bloodied. A woman tried to shield her children with her own body while soldiers ripped any hope of escape from her hands. Aiden acted on instinct, pure adrenaline, pure desperation. He knocked one of the soldiers down from behind. Another turned quickly, but Aiden grabbed his arm, twisted, and sent him to the ground screaming. But there were more. There were always more. 3 soldiers emerged from the flames, marching toward him. Aiden stepped back, searching for cover. The heat of the fire burned his skin. Smoke stung his eyes. Then something unexpected happened. One soldier collapsed, shot by someone hidden in the dark. Another dropped immediately after. The third turned to aim at the source of the gunfire, but didn't have time. A massive stone struck his head. Aiden looked up the hill, and there he was, the boy, the same boy, the child of fire, now burning inside for another reason. He held the weapon with both hands, shaking. His eyes were no longer afraid. They were resolved. He had chosen. Aiden ran to him. "What are you doing here?" he said, pulling the boy behind a rock before any enemy could spot him. The boy breathed fast. They came to destroy the village," he said, "and I couldn't just stand there." Aiden grabbed his shoulder. "Shh, you saved lives. You did what no one expected from you." The boy looked at his own hands, as if only now realizing the weight of his choice. "They're going to hunt me down," he whispered. "Then I'll stay with you," Aiden replied. And in that moment, the bond between them stopped being coincidence. It became purpose. When the night finally calmed, only destruction remained. But some villagers had survived. Few, injured, shaken, but alive. Aiden helped put out fires, tend to wounds, clear debris. The boy worked beside him without stopping. He looked as if he were trying to clean the world with his own hands. When the chaos settled, Aiden sat next to him, exhausted. The warm glow of the dying fire illuminated the boy's dirty face. "Do you have a name?" Aiden asked again, more gently this time. The boy hesitated, for a long moment, as if digging into his own mind hurt. His voice cracked. "I think I did, but they erased it." Aiden placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we'll make one." The boy looked up, a faint spark in his eyes. Small, fragile, but alive. "You choose," Aiden said. The boy thought. For a few seconds, it looked like he was fighting his own history. And then he whispered, "Cael." Aiden smiled. "Welcome back, Cael." The boy inhaled deeply, as if the name lifted an invisible weight off his chest. But the relief didn't last. A monstrous roar tore through the valley, sound Aiden had never heard before, a sound that wasn't human. Survivors curled in fear, flames flickered, dogs howled. Cael turned pale. "They're coming," he whispered. "And they won't stop until they find me." Aiden stood slowly. There were now two paths. Run from the world, or face it. He looked at Cael. Looked at the survivors, looked at the trembling horizon filled with the echoes of human and inhuman monsters born of war, and he knew what he had to do. "Then we go meet them," he said. Cael's eyes widened. "You're insane." "No," Aiden replied. "I'm just tired of running." And that was how the darkest part of their journey began. The part where heroes aren't born, they bleed. End of part 2. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and receive more videos like this. Part 3, The Weight of Dirty Hands. Dawn arrived without asking permission. The sky was still a dark fabric stitched with cold stars, and the wind descended from the mountains like a warning no one could ignore any longer. It carried ancient ashes, the dust of ruins, and the metallic smell of recent destruction. It was the kind of wind that not only chilled the skin, but also stirred memories. Aiden, still with his old cloak and refugee clothes and uncut hair, had awakened. Sitting on an uneven rock, he kept his back straight and his gaze alert, while sliding a short blade against a whetstone. The sound of metal was low, constant, almost meditative. There was no hurry. Every movement was calculated, as if time obeyed his breathing. That blade had been with him since before the world broke. It wasn't the prettiest, nor the newest, but it had survived alongside him. There was something symbolic about it. Like Aiden, the weapon bore marks, flaws, and scars, and yet it remained functional. A few meters away, Cael slept poorly. His body shifted under the makeshift blanket, his shoulders tense, his breathing irregular. Even unconscious, he seemed prepared to flee or fight. The fire that had forged him still burned inside, restless, untamed. Aiden watched in silence, recognized that state with painful precision. It wasn't fear, it wasn't weakness. It was forced adaptation. When someone is pushed out of the world they knew, the body learns before the mind. And that learning always exacts a price. The attack came just before sunrise. There were no shouts, no gunshots echoing off the stones, just the dry crack of rocks being displaced and the wrong sound of footsteps trying to be invisible. Kind of mistake only someone who has survived too much learns to perceive. Aiden felt it first. His body reacted before the thought could even form. His muscles tensed, his breathing changed, and he rose in a single, silent, potentially lethal motion. "Cael, now," he whispered, without turning his head. The boy awoke in the same instant. He rolled back as he had been trained, seeking natural cover among the rocks. The fear was still there, but it didn't paralyze him. When the first shadow emerged from among the boulders, Aiden was already moving. The attacker came quickly, too confident. He wielded an improvised blade, made to wound, not to truly fight. He believed in the advantage of surprise, didn't even have time to understand his mistake. Aiden moved into the range of the strike. He didn't retreat. He deflected the attack with his forearm absorbing the impact and pivoted his body in a short, precise motion. He used the enemy's own momentum against him, sharp blow to the knee. The crack of breaking bone echoed in the cold air. The man fell screaming. The sound was cut off when Aiden pinned him to the ground, pressing a knee against his chest. There was no anger on his face, only focus. Like someone solving an inevitable problem, he didn't stop. Another aggressor came from the side, taller, stronger, the type who trusted in brute force. Aiden advanced before the man could complete his movement. A direct punch to the throat cut the air from the enemy's lungs. A second blow to the jaw erased any intention to fight. The body fell heavily to the ground. The third one tried to retreat. He realized too late that this was no easy campsite. Aiden reached him in 3 steps, grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the rock with enough force to knock the wind out of him. "Stay down," he said calmly. The man didn't obey. Aiden twisted his arm behind his back, applying pressure with surgical precision. The scream came along with the crack of joints pushed to their limit. He didn't break it, not yet. There was a clear line between control and brutality. Superiority wasn't gratuitous violence. It was mastery of the situation.
Ow.
It was knowing exactly how far to go and when to stop. Cael watched it all with wide eyes. There was no fury in Aiden, no trace of pleasure. It's only efficiency. Every movement was clean, economical, definitive. When the last attacker tried to draw a hidden weapon, Aiden reacted without hesitation. A short motion, a precise blow to the wrist. The weapon fell before it could even be wielded. Kick sent it skittering away from the scene, like removing an inconvenient object. Silence reclaimed the place. Aiden took a step back. He took a deep breath. His fists were dirty with blood. Not much, but enough to remember the weight of every decision made that dawn. He looked around, assessing invisible risks. "It's over," he said finally. Cael approached slowly. Steps were careful, as if the ground could still bite. He looked at the fallen men, then at Aiden. "Who, were they?" he asked. Aiden wiped the blade on his own pants without ceremony. "Scavengers," he replied. "People who survive by stealing from those who survived a little longer." Cael swallowed dryly. "You could have killed them. I could have," Aiden confirmed, without emotion. But today it wasn't necessary. He looked directly at the boy. Never fight to prove something. Fight to finish it. After the bodies were dragged away from the camp, the sky began to brighten. The world revealed its scars in the weak light of dawn. Cael sat on a rock, visibly shaken. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from recognition. "You don't fight like them," he said at last. Aiden sat beside him. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It was dense, laden with unspoken things. "'Cause I was once like them," he replied. Cael took a while to speak. "What changed you?" Aiden looked toward the horizon, where the sun began to tear through the clouds. "Weariness," he said. "And the certainty that surviving without humanity is no victory." Cael nodded slowly. "I don't want to become that." Aiden placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then don't," he said. "But know this, choosing not to become it also requires strength." When the sun rose fully, Aiden stood up. He gathered the few belongings and adjusted the backpack on his shoulders. "Let's move on," he said. "They might come back, or others will." Cael got to his feet and before walking, paused. "Thank you for not letting me fight." Aiden held his gaze for a few seconds. "It's not yet," he replied. "When it's time, you'll know. They'll be by your side." They set off toward the Black Mountains. Now they weren't just survivors. They were 2 men being forged, one by the weight of the past, the other by the conscious choice not to repeat the same fate. The silent road, it seemed, knew it. The end. Thank you for getting this far. Subscribe to the channel and receive more videos like this.